A much abbreviated bright side this week. Not that there aren't lots of wonderful things out there. We're just pressed for time. So for this episode, it's all parachutes and Halloween technology. Let's take a look on the bright side. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the bright side. I'm your host, Bob Herzog. You know, it's the time of ghosts and goblins. It's the time of things that go bump in the night. Halloween is in the offing. Now, some might say that 2020 has been scary enough, so why even bother? Others say, I can make a giant animatronic spider. Yeah, you know, most of our bright side beasties are actual creatures that exist in nature. We're going to make an exception for this bad boy, though. If you live next to this guy, you better have good candy because your decorations have very little chance of reaching this level. This animatronic yard setup in Buffalo, New York was designed by David Mumaw. He used to put his tinkering skills to good use designing toys for Fisher-Price. Now retired, he can put that creativity, ingenuity, and know-how into his Halloween display full-time, which he's been working on since May. He sewed and painted the big arachnid, then built a crane, allowing it to crawl from the roof down to the yard.
With so much going on this year, I thought that Halloween was not going to be the same. And I felt that if there was ever a time that we needed something other to look at, it was now.
Mumaw says he has even bigger plans for next year's Halloween display, but he's keeping a lid on those. I sort of wish the dad and daughter you're about to see next could go check out that house, but they're in Iowa. I think they could really appreciate the innovation, though, because they went next level too. See, while just about everybody understands how to be part of a video conference call at this point, not everybody could figure out how to make one a costume. Greg Dietzenbach created this Zoom-themed Halloween costume for his 12-year-old daughter. He created it so that in 7 of the squares, his daughter is there depicting classic monsters like Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, that kind of stuff, right? To make the costume interactive, though, he taped an iPad to it so the top middle square, which is labeled next victim, is whoever's looking at it. And in the middle square, you see it's his daughter. Isn't that great? Now, friends, next week actually is Halloween week, and I would love to feature some of your costumes in our next episode. There's a link down in the description of this video where you can upload pictures and videos. Show me your creativity, and maybe you'll see yourself or your kiddos next week. So sometimes ingenuity can lead to a pretty cool Halloween costume. Other times, it can lead to a beautiful and unforgettable wedding dress. An aviation museum in New York has a new addition, a gown worn by a bride who married a wartime pilot, a gown that started its life as the parachute that saved his life. Carolyn Gussoff has the story.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Most wedding dresses tell a love story. This one also has a history lesson woven into its silk threads.
And all the pieces that went into making it.
Worn by Kate and Mike Brate's mother in 1945, made out of the World War II parachute that saved their father's life.
Something that was meant to save somebody from a crashing plane, who then became the parachute that carried them throughout their marriage.
Their father, George, a young army pilot flying dangerous missions to defeat Hitler in Europe. His plane took on enemy fire, but the flying metal lodged into his folded parachute.
My father came home with this parachute filled with holes. If the parachute were not there, it would have killed him.
His future bride, Evelyn, grateful the love of her life survived, and with silk in short supply in wartime, began a labor of love.
My mom got the idea to have that parachute transformed into this beautiful gown.
She toiled to gently remove Army-Navy lettering, then masterfully salvaged the tattered pieces. Although yellowed with time, it's now museum-worthy. Donated to the Cradle of Aviation Museum to teach about the greatest generation's bravery, sacrifice, and ingenuity.
It's just one story of millions, I'm sure, of what people went through during the war, and how difficult it was. My parents are now going to live forever.
The museum, it's not just a collection of hardware and nuts and bolts. We try to tell interesting stories about people behind the airplanes, who flew in the airplanes.
Parachutes were literally worn by Air Corps pilots during World War II, harnessed to their back and then used as a seat cushion. This one became the foundation of a big, happy family, more than 60 years of marriage. Daughter Kate, now sister Kate, a nun, grateful to share her departed parents' legacy.
The story goes beyond us because it's a story of love, it's a story of bravery, it's a story of hope, it's a story of future.
All sewn together in vintage silk.
Oh my gosh, and we thought parachute pants were cool in the 80s. That's cool. And that was Carolyn Gussoff reporting there again. The dress will only be on display periodically. The rest of the time, it'll be in storage to protect it from light exposure. I love that one. We've got time for one more to inspire, and one more involving a parachute. A 102-year-old World War II veteran from Maryland set out on a daring adventure. She finally crossed off jumping out of a plane from her bucket list. Carolyn Petrickas takes us along for the adventure.
Millie Bailey may be 102 years old.
I'm going to do a skydive. Sometimes it's called a tandem jump.
But this Columbia, Maryland resident is still soaring to new heights.
Well, you're an inspiration to all of us, so thank you.
This fearless World War II veteran has decided to take a leap of faith and accomplish one of her big bucket list items.
The fact that a person at that age could do the jump.
She was inspired by President George H.W. Bush's jump at age 90.
Are you nervous, honey?
Probably a little bit.
Millie's family, friends, and Howard County neighbors joined at Skydive Baltimore.
Now you push me out before you come out.
If you want to go on an adventure, but I think we should go together.
I mean, at 102, if I can get medical clearance for even waking up, that'll be a blessing for me. Nothing stops Aunt Millie.
Millie says she was a little nervous beforehand, but before we knew it, she jumped from 2 miles into the sky.
But I felt like I was tumbling. Just for a minute, and then I thought, no, somebody's holding on to me. It was wonderful, a real thrill. Glad that I had landed. Very just thankful that I made a safe landing.
Now, at first she told family members that she wanted to jump again at 103 years old and then again at 104, but once she landed, she said just once is enough.
I think we could all understand that. Now, the accomplishments for Millie do not end there. She now has a park in Maryland named after her. Ms. Millie says she never imagined she'd receive such a prestigious recognition. You deserve all of it and more. Thanks for joining us here on The Bright Side. Like the video, share it, all that kind of good stuff. Invite your friends next time we take a look on The Bright Side.